Hello, today we're covering long division.
Two words that you're probably not happy to see together. It's going to take a long time. It involves division. I kind of like it. And the reason that I like it is because we can follow some simple rules that will allow us to do it accurately, and it works for every problem.
So here are the 5 steps that we're going to be following for long division today. Step 1, divide the first number. Step 2, multiply. Step 3, subtract. Step 4, bring it down. Step 5, repeat, or we're going to have a remainder to deal with, and we'll do that accordingly. All right, so I would have this down in your notebook, as well as this sample problem that we are about to work through. So the problem that we're going to work through is 581 divided by 2. So let's go ahead and look at our first step when we're doing the U.S. traditional long division. The first step here is divide the first number. So the question that we're going to really ask here in step 1, all right, I'm just going to write this here next to it, is we're going to ask ourselves how many times can 2 go into 5? Need a question mark. So then we're going to come over to our problem here. How many times can 2 go into 5? Well, 2 can go into 5 2 times. All right, so that's our first step. We're done. In our second step, we are going to be looking at that number that we just put on top of our division problem here, and we're going to do what is 2 times 2. So second step would be multiply. We're doing 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. And if we were to put that into our problem, we're going to put it right down here underneath the 5, okay? And that's very important. That's where we're going to put it. We have to be very neat and organized, just like we always do with division or multiplication or addition. Anytime we're working in math, we have to make sure our work is neat and tidy. All right, so we're done with the second step there. In our third step, we're going to subtract that multiplication that we just figured out. So we're going to look down here. We are going to subtract 4 from 5. And we are going to find out that that is 1. And then in our next step, we need to bring down our next number. In this case, it's an 8. So our fourth step would be bring down the 8. And obviously, if this was a 7, we would bring down the 7. If it was a 6, we would bring down the 6. Okay? It all depends on what that next number in our problem is. So in this case, it's an 8, so we're going to bring it down. And we are going to put it right here with our 1. And on this problem, our next step is going to be repeat. We're either going to repeat or we have a remainder. Okay, if we had a remainder, there would be nothing else that we could do, but there is some more division that we can do in this problem. All right, important thing to note, okay, now that we have done this first step and we have 18 down here, our next step in our problem, we're going back to the top and we're saying, okay, well, how many times can 2 go into 18? It's not how many times can 2 go into 8. All right, we're always looking at this bottom number now. So how many times can 2 go into 18? Well, 2 times 9 is 18. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in 9 up here in my answer, and we're going to go through the next step. Step 2 is multiply. Well, in the beginning, we multiplied 2 times 2, but now it's 9 times 2. So 9 times 2 is 18. Next step is to subtract. 18 minus 18, we get 0. We're on step 4 already. Step 4, bring it down. Our next number is a 1, so we would bring this 1 down, okay? And we're going to go ahead and try to repeat this. So let's look at, can 2 go into 1? No. Okay, here's what's the important part. Okay, we have 290 up here. Our answer is not 29. 29 times 2 would only be 58. We're looking how many times does 2 go into 581. And then we have a remainder in this case. We cannot repeat this process anymore. We don't have any more numbers to bring down and divide. So we would have a remainder of 1. Let's go ahead and try this one more time. Here's our next problem. We have 745 divided by 8. All right, so our first step would be to divide the first number. When we look at this problem, I wanted to show this example because 8 is not going to go into 7 in this case. We can put a placeholder 0 right here, but it's not really necessary, so I'm going to do a kind of like dotted 0 there to show you that this is something that you could put down, but it's not necessary. Our next question would be, okay, well, if 8 doesn't go into this first number, then we're going to look at the first two numbers. Now, you might be thinking, I don't know how many times 8 goes into 74 off the top of my head. I would challenge that. You could work backwards here. What's 8 times 10? Well, we know that 8 times 10 would be 80. That's a little bit too high. We could try the next one. 8 times 9 is 72. If we subtract 8 from 80, and we could find it out that way. Otherwise, one tip that we could do is we could list the multiples of 8. And this is a good tip, maybe if you're just starting out with long division, to take a look at this number out here that's in front of here, which is your divisor, and we could list out the factors, or the multiples of that. So we have 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3, and so on. Times 4, times 5, times 6. And we don't need to go over 10. And we would go ahead and go through this. 8 times 1 is 8, times 2 is 16, 24, 32. We're adding 8 each time, right? 8 times 5 is 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, 80. All right. And then we can just look through here and we can just pull these numbers straight off. We have everything we need, right? So what I mean by that is, well, I can look through here. How many times does 8 go into 74? 9 times. It equals 72. We've already multiplied it. So we would write 72 down here. That's the multiplication step. That's step 2. Step 3 is subtract. 74 minus 72 is just 2. Next step is to bring it down. We bring this 5 down, and we'd rewrite this. Now, I've made one mistake. What did I forget to do? Forgot to write my 9 up here in my answer. So let's go ahead and look through this. 8, remember, we're not looking how many times does 8 go into 45? No. Our new number here is 25. How many times does 8 go into 25? Well, I've already listed out all of my factors. So we can look through here. Well, goes in 3 times is 24, 4 times is 32. Well, 32 is too big, so it must have gone in 3 times. So we would write a 3 in the top of our problem here, in our answer, in our quotient, and then we would multiply. 8 times 3, or 3 times 8, 24. Next step, subtract. We get 1. There's nothing left to bring down. Okay, so then we just make that our remainder 1. So here are 3 problems that you can practice yourself. Go through the algorithm, go through all of the steps, and I would pause the video right here because I'm going to place the answers in about 20 seconds. Like I said, pause the video and try these on your own. Check your own understanding of how to do the U.S. traditional long division method. So I'm going to go ahead and work through these very quickly. And this is kind of just goes to show, once you're really used to this algorithm, it can go pretty quickly if you know your multiplication facts and your division facts fairly well. Mainly multiplication though. Okay, 2 goes into 2 how many times? 1. Okay, 2 times 1 is 2. Subtract. Bring it down. 4. 2 goes into 4 how many times? 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract. 0. Bring it down. Okay, we bring down our 4. 2 times what would be 4? 2. Okay, 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract. 0. Here we're left with no remainder. Our answer is just 122. On to the second problem. Does 9 go into 3? No. Does 9 go into 38? Yes. How many times? 4 times, because 9 times 4 is 36. Subtract. Bring down the remainder there with a 2. Bring down our 6. How many times does 9 go into 26? 3 times 9 would be 27. So it must be 2 times, and that would be 18. We would subtract. We have 26. 16 minus 8 is 8. So 0. So we have a remainder of 8. All right. And our last problem here, 197 divided by 4. Does 4 go into 1? No. Does 4 go into 19? Yes. 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. You multiply. We subtract. 3. Bring it down. How many times does 4 go into 37? Well, 4 times 9 would be 36. So that's, I think, as close as we can get. 4 times 9 or 9 times 4 is 36. We subtract. We're left with 1. We have nothing left to bring down. So this is my remainder of 1. Now, it might take some time to get used to, but once you get used to these steps and you're used to doing this method and you know your factors really well, you know your times tables and all of your division tables, this should be pretty easy for you to become pretty rapid and be able to get these answers pretty quickly. May the math be with you.